I have finally figured out how to make it so a unit that has its model edited and has a personal shield has the unit's model display a shield glint. What I mean by this is my Illuminate commander. There is a white glint moving over the textures. Looking at my UEF commander, that doesn't exist. It's because the Illuminate commander has a shield, the UEF one does not. This white glint is a shield effect. Previously, trying to enable this effect on a unit with an edited model will cause the unit to not display at all. This is because the unit's model uses two material sets. Currently, the only way I know of to edit a unit's model is by using custom import and export scripts into Blender. The problem is, these scripts are configured for Supreme Commander 1, which means they aren't using two material sets like Supreme Commander 2 models are. So when these scripts are used, that second material set is lost, which causes the unit to not display at all. I have now, finally, found a workaround. The absolute only drawback of my current method is when the glint is removed or added, the unit for a brief moment disappears. Usually this is completely unnoticeable, but right now this is the best that we can do. Another thing this fixes is structure build effects. When you first build a structure, it has these flashing hexagons on it. Structure units with custom models would be completely invisible until they are fully built. I have now fixed this issue for my custom units. The solution that I have found for shield units also fixes the issue with structure units, as both issues were caused by the same problem. The structure build effects can now be seen on my custom model units, and they are no longer invisible when being built. Unfortunately, again, the only issue is the brief moment where the model disappears, but that's very unnoticeable and it doesn't happen often. So now for the workaround. How I was able to import and export my unit's model and still have the personal shield effect, as well as the building effect. We are going to need three files. The unit script.lua file, and the unit's blueprint file. The third file is a copy of the unit's blueprint file. I'm just going to put an S at the end to indicate shield. Inside of the copy that we made, we want to find the display table. Here it is. I'm going to delete everything except for the display table. While deleting everything except the display table, we want to keep Unit Blueprint at the top, as well as this last curly bracket at the end of our file. It should not have a comma after it. Now that that is done, we are only going to keep the mesh subtable. If I move my cursor to the M in mesh, put it just before the M, and scroll down, whenever I hit the next curly bracket, that's the end of the mesh table. So I know to delete all of the highlighted text. This LOD cutoff is a different level of detail for your model. This is the highest level of detail with the lowest LOD cutoff. And this is the lowest level of detail with the highest LOD cutoff. So what we have done right now is we have created a copy of our original unit's blueprint. We are essentially going to create a dummy blueprint that only has texture and model data. The original unit is going to be without the shield, and this dummy texture and model file is going to have the shield. We are going to find the material set that has the name of shield. This is the one we want to keep. We can only have one material set because the reason the model disappears is it's trying to load two different material sets when the import and export scripts only support one. So here is my shield material set. I'm going to delete the base material set. This must be done for each level of detail. You can tell which material set is meant for the shield not only by the name, but because it has an effect name. This effect name is the shield effect. Additionally, under shader macros, going all the way to the right, shield is at the end. So now I have a dummy texture and model file that has the shield effect, but the current problem is it doesn't have any texture nor model data. So there are 5 key entries we need to add. This is an example shield file that I have already completed. We want to have the mesh name, diffuse name, mask name, normal name, and team name. So now my dummy shield file has a model and texture. The only issue is it's currently using the wrong model and the wrong texture. The highlighted text I have on screen is the name of the unit blueprint file. This is also known as the blueprint ID. The current text I have highlighted is the current blueprint ID it is trying to point to. I need to make it match with my actual model's blueprint ID. You can see the name of my shield blueprint being UIA0103S. The actual blueprint is UIA0103. This is the one that I want to use. So I will just replace all of these old entries. Now that that is all done, my shield blueprint file is completely configured to match my original unit's blueprint. The only difference is this shield blueprint has the shield effect. The shield blueprint file is now complete. The next thing we need to do is edit the original unit's blueprint file. In here, we find the display table, and again find material sets, and we need to remove the shield material set from our original blueprint. Remember, we can only have one material set, and our dummy shield file already has the shield material set. So now we delete this duplicate shield material set. Once that is done, both blueprint files are now complete. The very last thing to look into is the script file. Here on the left is my incomplete script file. This is the unit I'm currently working on. On the right is a script file for a unit I have already completed. On the unit that I am working on, I want to try to find two methods: onShield enabled and onShield disabled. These are event listeners. My unit script does not have these two methods, so I have to add them manually. They look like this. I have zoomed in on a very important piece of code. What this whole code block does is when a shield is enabled for our unit, it's going to run this method. However, because it's in our script, it's overwriting the original method. We want to make sure the original method is still running as well, otherwise our shield will get messed up. The very first segment of code should be a unit type, and then there should be a dot, and then it should say onShield enabled self. We want to make sure the unit type in this piece of code matches the unit type of the unit that we're currently working on. In my case, it already did. So whenever a shield is enabled, it plays a sound, runs the original method, and this part is my code. What this first line of code is doing is getting a blueprint based off a blueprint ID. This is the dummy shield blueprint that we created earlier, the copy of the original blueprint. It is absolutely essential to make those blueprint IDs match, otherwise this will not work. I do not know for certain if it needs to be, but I always put it in lowercase. Once we have that blueprint, we're going to set the mesh of our current unit to be that blueprint's display table, its mesh blueprint. And then at the end we have this comma true. This is very important as it means it keeps the original unit's bones. If this was removed or set to false, it would not keep the original unit's bones. That would cause all weapons, animations, and anything that works with bones to be broken. So that is the entirety of the onShield enabled method. When the shield is disabled, it's the same thing except we're playing the shield off sound. We run the onShield disabled method, and the blueprint that we get is the original unit's blueprint. Then we set the mesh of our original unit to be its own blueprint. When we set it to this blueprint up here, this blueprint only has shields. This blueprint only has the normal model without any shield effects. So this loads the shield effect, this removes it. Now, the script file is complete. Our unit would now no longer disappear when it gets a shield, and it will keep the shield effect when it has a shield. Likewise, it will remove the shield effect when it no longer has a shield. The very last thing is structure units. Here I have a completed structure unit. Everything is the same. We use a dummy blueprint file for the display effects. Here, instead of the shield, it's a build effect. And here at the end, it's not shield, it's build overlay. Inside the unit blueprint file, we only have one material set. The only difference is the script file. When our unit is initially created, indicated by the onCreate method, that's when we load the structure build effect blueprint and set the unit's mesh of the current unit to that build effect blueprint. When the unit is done being built, indicated by the onStopBeingBuilt method, we load its original blueprint, which only has its original base textures and model, no effect. The onCreate method adds the build effect. The onStopBeingBuilt method removes the effect. OnCreate is when the unit is first brought into the world. It needs to be built, so it should play the build effect. OnStopBeingBuilt is when the unit is fully and successfully done being built. Since it is no longer being built, it should stop the building effect. That's the only difference. Structure units just need two different methods for when their build effect should display. Overall, with what little room we have to work with, until I'm able to find a way to fix the import and export scripts, which there's no guarantee to ever happen, I am extremely happy with the solution that I have found. Its absolute only drawback is that the unit model briefly disappears. But this doesn't always happen. It's only for a very small amount of time, and usually it's completely unnoticeable. Treads are the one thing that uses a second material set that I have not been able to figure out. But at least where it currently stands, with the tools we have available, modeling for Supreme Commander 2 just got uncountably times better. And that's pretty much it for the workaround of only being able to work with one material set. After many long years, it's finally been figured out. We can finally have custom model units that have shield effects and building effects.